Hey guys, I hope all is well. Welcome back to the True Talk podcast. I'm back here with Jay.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Kendrick's new music video for his new song, Count Me Out. But before we begin, I just wanted to remind you guys that Truth Records is finally here. On December 30th, we will be releasing 2 songs on YouTube and all streaming platforms. I want to thank all my subscribers for helping me achieve this goal of making a label that only pushes positive music. I want to give a special thank you to my Patreons as well and my Truth Movement members, as all your guys' support has helped in the funding and making this label into a reality. I will be hosting a special release for Truth members and Patreons a couple days before the release, so you guys can get to hear it first. Thank you all. Now let's get right into it. Kendrick Lamar just dropped a new music video with some very interesting imagery that we definitely need to talk about. At the top of the year, Kendrick dropped a new album that contained the controversial album cover depicting Kendrick wearing a crown of thorns. For his entire album rollout, Kendrick chose to depict himself with this imagery, painting himself as a Christ-like figure. I am pretty sure many of you remember his performance with his diamond-studded crown of thorns. The performance was openly blasphemous and once again showing Kendrick being presented as a Christ-like figure. In Kendrick's music video for his song N95, he once again presents himself as a Christ-like figure. The song even opens up, speaking about the new world that we're all living in. Like we spoke about in previous videos, Kendrick shows himself in the N95 video floating over the water, clearly depicting himself as a god, showing a single child worshiping him, which represents his fans. All the imagery is obviously pointing to Kendrick Lamar painting himself as Christ. When we add this all up with the imagery we can find in his new music video for his song Count Me Out, we can finally see all this imagery connect. In this music video, all the imagery is, in my opinion, finally explained. There's a reason why Kendrick continues to paint himself as Christ, and is not to represent Christ, but the Antichrist. This is what we see in this new music video. The video starts with Kendrick at a therapy session, and immediately we can spot the Masonic duality as Kendrick is dressed in black while the therapist is dressed in white. In the opening scene, Kendrick tells his therapist that he thought his time was up and then continues to tell her a story about an incident that happened to him where he admits to lying to someone and feeling decent about it. This part is very important and revealing, but will most likely go over most people's heads. Kendrick chooses to open the video by letting the audience know that he is the deceiver, the father of lies. He stated that he thought his time was up, once again referring to Lucifer, whose time has been running out since the fall. To further prove Kendrick is representing Lucifer, the therapist asks Kendrick why did he text her at 2 in the morning, telling her that he feels like he has fallen. Then in the very next scene, they show what appears to be a child dressed in red with wings on his back like a fallen angel. The child then ends up being Kendrick. This scene openly depicts Kendrick representing himself as the Antichrist, showing us exactly why he has been depicting himself as Christ in all his previous videos. In the next scene, we see the people begin to worship Kendrick, who represents the Antichrist. Just like is predicted in the Bible, the Antichrist will present himself as the return of Christ himself, just to fool the world into worshiping him. This is exactly what Kendrick is showing us. Kendrick is also dressed in red, which represents Satan, which is what Lucifer became after he was casted out of heaven. In another scene, they show the people begin to rally behind Kendrick, and at the end, we see them all worshiping Kendrick, carrying Kendrick in a sea of people. In my opinion, Kendrick has been showing the representation of the Antichrist for a while now. We saw this same imagery of him being worshipped in his All of the Stars music video, where he is on a sea of people who are worshiping him. There's a reason why Kendrick is the biggest rapper alive, looked at as the most talented. He was chosen by the Masons to represent the arrival of the Antichrist and the beginning of the new world. I know many people can't seem to accept Kendrick as a puppet, but you must understand, no one makes it to where Kendrick is at without taking the oath. Kendrick has shown us time and time again that he is indeed taking that oath. What most people don't understand is that Lucifer is going to paint himself as the hero. You know, the Antichrist, that's what he's going to do. He's going to present himself as Christ himself, healing people and offering solutions to our problems. That's what it says the Antichrist is going to represent himself as when he's first revealed. This is what Kendrick is showing us. This is what the Masons are using Kendrick to represent. If we look at Kendrick's image, he's looked at as the conscious rapper, the one that usually raps about stuff that's different that others don't, and that usually has this positive message. So he's almost looked at like the good guy, but that's the one that's going to deceive the world.
I agree with you. And one thing I've seen is a common recurring theme with this video: messages hidden in plain sight and symbolism. So much symbolism in this video. Like from the very beginning, one of the things that stood out to me was the clock ticking. I realized that the clock ticked exactly 6 times. if you're trying to depict time in a video or to get a message across, you don't pick a specific number. You just let it tick and let it tick in the background. The fact that it ticks 6 times says something to me. It kind of goes with the reoccurring theme of what you were saying with the Antichrist.
It's very important that you point that out, because that just adds again to that opening imagery that he is representing himself as the Antichrist, as the devil. We said that he openly shows that he's a deceiver. He admits to lying and feeling decent about it, which in the video you see that he actually feels good about it because he's smiling and joking about lying. And then he also talks about how his time is being up and being the one that's fallen. And when you talk about the clock ticking 6 times, it's just another representation of Lucifer. That was a great find. I did not even notice that.
Yeah, and then there's some more things that I noticed in the video as well. Like, you brought up the duality, and like the whole entire video being filmed in black and white. That's the duality, and it's the common theme, but it's hidden right in plain sight. It's hidden behind the facade of an artistic style, the black and white. Even the entire video, if you notice, one side has the therapist dressed in all white, and then the other side has Kendrick dressed in all black. You can see black and white. One side is black, one side is white, and the entire video is black and white. And throughout the video as well, you'll see the common reoccurring theme of black and white. Even in some of the scenes, like when there's an overhead view of a house and there's like an older couple dancing in the middle, you look along the stairs, there's a lighter skinned lady holding a dark skinned baby, and she's wearing a black dress with white shoes. You see a gentleman that looks like Kendrick holding a baby dressed in all white, and he's dressed in all black. And throughout the entire video, you see that common recurring theme.
This is something I've noticed in the N95 video as well. It's in black and white. I said that in that's another method of showing the Masonic checkerboard floor, the duality, which represents the good and the evil. What people need to understand is that the Masons love to act in this way. They love to either be the good or the evil, but they still represent the same thing, the Masonic order. It's controlled evil, it's controlled good, but it's controlled by the Masonic order. Do you think an artist can get to the level where Kendrick is? He's considered the biggest artist in the world, you know? When he makes music, people stop and listen. Everybody in the industry praises him so much. You think the industry would praise an artist that is against the industry? You think that they would, bring an artist up that they didn't have control over?
Most definitely not. Like, we talked about this before. You have to be willing to push the agenda in some way, shape, or form, because the powers that be won't let you get to where you need to be unless you're willing to push what they want you to push. Because at the end of the day, how many talented people are out there in the world who go unnoticed their entire life just because they weren't put in front of the right person? Or if they weren't willing to push the message that that person wanted them to push. You have to take that oath. You have to be willing to do what they want you to do in order to make it to that level. Because sure, there's some famous people who are some kind of fame, some kind of influence, but to get to the level like where Kendrick is and some of the other big names, you most definitely have to be part of the agenda, in my opinion.
Another thing that's important is that I want people to understand that all of this started happening after 2020. We saw how much the world changed since then. And like I've always said, the world has never been the same. I believe that specific date was chosen for a specific reason. And like we heard Joe Biden said, we're in the New World Order. He announced that we're in the New World Order. And this is the same time that we see Beyonce showing the 4 horsemen imagery. Kendrick has been showing us the Antichrist imagery. They're telling us that we're in this new world. And if you take a look around, you will see it for yourself.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It feels like after 2020 was definitely felt like the climax year where things started to tip downwards. You know what I mean? We reached the top and now we started the descent. The fall seemed to have began after 2020, you know? There was a big catalyst that year that we all know about, we all lived through. And like you said, the symbolism definitely seemed to ramp up after that. The messages were coming in droves from like all these major artists and different platforms. You see it. When talking about this Kendrick video, though, another thing that I noticed that was some deep symbolism, as I was watching the video, there's a couple of scenes. Like, there's a scene where you see him in a boardroom with some executives arguing over some contracts or something. And then you see Kendrick's face is kind of stale and he looks like bored. And then the image changes to him like at a party scene with some people that don't really look like his crowd, but then he fakes a smile. But then what really caught my eye is a scene directly after that, where he's in a recording booth recording, but there's 2 microphones. And I'm not an artist myself, so I'm not sure if that's normal practice to have 2 microphones, but there's also some other things in that scene that stand out. Like there's a lamp that's casting a shadow, and it just seems off to me because I feel like these companies spend tons of money to remove shadows from the videos to get the clearest image, and in this one, it seems like they purposely casted a shadow, and the shadow is a lot bigger than he is.
You're 100% correct. When it comes to producing and making music, usually there isn't 2 mics in a recording studio unless the artist is either recording with another artist or there's instruments, for like example, a guitar or drums being used for the song. But In this specific song, there isn't. And that is a good observation.
And the fact that you say two artists, that's one of the other things that stood out to me, because the shadow that's being cast by the lamp in that scene is like, it looks like it's towering over him. And I think it ties into the scene right before where you saw him with the stale face and then him with a fake smile. And it kind of made you think like maybe it's two different people coming out, you know?
I was watching a music video previous to this one that he dropped right before this one. I'm not sure of the name. And it shows the red suit Kendrick Lamar again. So this red suit Kendrick Lamar is definitely a recurring character. And it also shows a brown suit Kendrick Lamar, and they have complete different personality. So, you know, that could also be pointing to something that is controlling Kendrick. That shadow that can be towering over Kendrick can be a representation of who truly controls Kendrick. And going back to the scene where you mentioned the record label, Tory Lanez video, Praise the Most High, shows them having this problem with the record label. And then we see this same imagery again in A$AP Rocky's new music video that I just covered, where it shows Rocky as a puppet. Something happens to Rocky where his body's unresponsive and his people pick up his body, put him on strings, and he becomes a puppet.
Yeah, no, I saw it. And then it shows him become like that puppet that's doing everything they want, and they kind of mold him in the image of what they thought he should really look like.
Exactly. They turned him into the exact thing they wanted, the product that they wanted with the message that they wanted. And I want people to understand, this Kendrick imagery is the most important because Kendrick isn't your regular artist. Kendrick is the biggest artist in the industry. He's literally the most praised, and he's showing us that he's the most praised. He's not hiding this. It's literally put in plain sight. He is showing us that he's representing the Antichrist. He's representing the Masonic order. Time and time again, you can see him with the one-eye symbolism. I want you to comprehend what's its importance. For example, when the police start looking into a gang, one of the first things they document is gang signs, you know, how they communicate within each other, secret words, secret phrases, secret things that they do to communicate within the gang. This is exactly what we're seeing with the one-eye symbolism, with the all-seeing eye imagery, with all these Masonic hand gestures. This is their gang signs. This is the way they're communicating within each other. The Masonic Order is a proud organization. They like to brag. They like to put their stuff in plain sight. They like to hide their symbols everywhere and show people who's truly in control. It's just that they count on most people not knowing what it all means and missing it, which is what happens.
And really quick, going back to the video, one more thing that I noticed while I was watching the video, it's the length of the video. It's 3 minutes and 27 seconds exactly, which to me just, it stood out a little bit, that number 327. And I looked it up, the 327 number, and I found a Bible verse from Mark 3:27 that really stood out to me. That read, "No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house." And to me, that really stood out. But what do you think about it?
When I look at Mark 3:27, what it means to me actually ties back into the deceiver. Because if you look at the verse, it basically says that no man can enter a strong man's house and spoil you his goods, except he will first bind the strong man. Meaning that if I were to try to get in your home right now, you're going to defend yourself. You know, you're going to see it coming. You're not going to let it happen. But if I trick you, if I deceive you and you let me in your home and you let your guard down, then I can attack you from the inside. I can tie you up and I can take what I want. This is what this represents to me. And again, it points back to the deceiver. It points back to Lucifer, the Antichrist, who's going to come down to earth and confuse us all, present himself like Christ, make us bring our guard down, have many of us follow him so he can guide those with him to a burning end. That is what I get from this verse. And that's exactly what I see when I look at Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar painted himself as this good guy, as this great character, you know, and people let their guards down with him. They look at him as this perfect figure, as the savior of the music industry. You get my point? But in reality, he's truly deceiving everybody, and he's about to stage his attack. Kendrick has deceived his audience into thinking that he's a positive thing for the industry, when he's truly a part of the problem, and he's actually being used to deceive so many.
And like you said, painting to be the good guy. His breakout album was A Good Kid in a Mad City, you know? It's kind of like hidden in plain sight.
A lot of his imagery has been this good kid, and this is what I've always speak, because a lot of people say that Kendrick Lamar doesn't have negative music and he doesn't promote negativity. Kendrick Lamar raps about just about the same thing everyone else. He just does it a little bit differently. He talks about the same street life and stuff. He doesn't say he lived it. He just says that he's witnessing it, but he doesn't offer a solution. He's not telling people to stay away from it. He sort of does what other rappers do and glamorizes it. He paints this lifestyle as this is what you have to live and this is what we're forced to live, not telling people that there's actually another way out. You're not forced to live this type of life. I'm not forcing you to look at Kendrick in any way. That is not my goal. And I'm pretty sure I won't convince everybody of what I'm trying to say. But what I do want you to understand is the same way that you look at other rappers that I cover on this channel that are being represented and being pushed by the same record label that Kendrick Lamar is signed to. Look at Kendrick Lamar with those eyes. He's being pushed by the same people. He's being spoken about by the same people. And sadly, he's going to deceive so many people because they won't open their eyes to the truth when it comes to Kendrick. Well, like I always say, we must remember that every day we wake up, our souls are at stake. And we also must remember to help those who can't see the truth find the truth. That's it for this episode. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
I just wanted to give a special shout out to the Truth Movement members. I truly appreciate every single one of you. If you'd like to further support the channel, join the Truth Movement, or you can join me on Patreon where I drop exclusive videos monthly. The link would be in the description. Another way you can further support the channel is by checking out the Truthfist store and seeing if you find anything you like. Every purchase you make helps with the funding of Truth Records. The link to the Truthfist store is also in the description. Also, please leave a comment on your thoughts on this video and on any future topics you would like to see me cover on my channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified of future videos. If you like this video, please leave a like as it helps other people find these videos. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram and follow me there. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.